Hey everyone, I am Nathaniel Rufflejants, and this is Prime News. So our main story today, the lead story, is that Nintendo Switch has received an OS update, firmware 5.0.0. And there was a lot of expectations heading into this firmware update, given that Nintendo has an online system, they're launching in September, and there's just a lot of many people feel core features missing from the OS still early in 2018. However, it might not be exactly what you hoped for, but that doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of things to go over. First off, you can now add friends on your Switch from Twitter and Facebook. If you go to your profile and you go down to add friends, you will now see a subsection that not only includes, the Switch and your Miitomo game and mobile phone. It'll also have a section where you can now log in and authorize your Twitter and Facebook account, and then it'll give you friend suggestions based on who it can verify on your Facebook and Twitter accounts own a Switch. Now, beyond that, there are new profile icons as well for ARMS and Kirby. You can also filter news articles by channel. And what I actually really love about this is you can now filter to unread news. Thank you, Nintendo. I have been waiting for that for a long time. I might actually now use the news channel more often. Also, if you buy software online at Nintendo.com, it'll now download directly to your Switch faster. This was part of the 5.0 update. And the update also happens to coincide with a parental control app update that lets you make exceptions for software startup restrictions so all of your kids can play games you feel are appropriate. You can also enter a PIN number now in a stealth-like manner with the control stick. Yes, folks, this is actually something I wish existed on all platforms, because one thing I always did as a kid, and I've seen my kids do as well, is they kind of look over our shoulders and figure out what the PIN is, or they could see me entering the PIN on screen. Now I could do it, to a point where they won't be able to necessarily tell what the PIN is. This is very good to prevent them from making purchases. I don't want them to purchase on Switch, or from playing games. I have Payday 2 and other M-rated games. I really just don't want my 7-year-old, 4-year-old, and 2-year-old to experience just yet. So, yes, I like this addition, and I will be taking advantage of it myself. Now, that doesn't mean that everything is perfect on the Switch. One thing they did finally fix, and this is something we talked about before, is the play activity bug. It was just a bug. Your playtime was never truly affected, and after 10 days on a reset after a year, you would get your play data back. So what would happen is once you hit 1 year from when you first launched a game, the system would kind of reset your playtime and put it at 0 days played. But once you got past the 10-day mark, your playtime would return. That bug is now gone. As expected. I'm surprised they didn't include it as like a minor patch and had to throw it in with 5.0. But you know what? With 5.0 coming out like it did, maybe it made a lot of sense to do that. And they also updated the Joy-Cons. But no one has really figured out if the update to the Joy-Cons has done anything specifically. Maybe it's strengthened the signal a little bit. No one really knows. These controller updates that have happened over time with the Joy-Cons, no one's really quite figured out what these updates are for, but they're happening, and who knows, maybe battery life has increased a little bit or something. Also, what's interesting is there's a bug in this update that allows you to access your Twitter feed. Now, some people are claiming you can also access your Facebook feed, but I have not had any luck doing that. But accessing the Twitter feed is super easy. When you go to log in, when you go through your profile to authorize the Twitter app to catch friends, instead of authorizing the app, if you actually put your control stick up on the Twitter icon and you select that, you'll be able to browse a mobile version of Twitter on your Switch, and it's like a full version of Twitter. You have all the tweets, you can search through them, you can check your DMs, you can check people who have your notifications, all that stuff. You could search Twitter. It's a very much a full mobile version of Twitter, and it's really weird because it's not like a mobile version that like goes landscape mode with the Switch. It's just like a phone version of it that only takes up part of the screen. But this does further provide evidence and proof, and you could tell as you're authorizing the apps, you're using a web browser of sorts, that the Switch has a web browser. It's obviously not fully optimized to be this public thing, but I would love to see see Nintendo finally release a proper web browser on this beast, whether or not it's the one that's on the OS level, or if they start working with people like Google and get a Chrome version out, or whatever the case may be. Maybe Firefox. Maybe I would hate to say Microsoft Edge. Probably not, because it's not a Microsoft product, but I would love to see them do something here to strengthen this. As I said, I haven't figured out how to do this on Facebook yet. Some people have told me you access Facebook. I don't know about that, but yeah, I've easily accessed Twitter, and I actually did it completely by accident. I didn't even need to be told this, because when I hit my button, which what I thought would authorize it, I was already on the Twitter icon, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? So very interesting, very easy to access your Twitter on your Switch. I mean, you can make tweets even from your Switch. Isn't that crazy? But yeah, it is what it is. Once you authorize the app, you can't access this anymore. So you'd have to deauthorize and disconnect your account and then go to reconnect it to do it again. So it's kind of an annoying process, and it's not something that I don't see. I see many people using, but it's there, and you can tweet from your Switch. Isn't that's wow? All right, folks. Let's move on to the next story for today. And that is that the Switch has sold 600,000, really more than 600,000 units in Germany in less than a year. Some interesting notes from that is that it is more than any other Nintendo console has sold in its first year, including the Wii. It also makes it the fastest selling Nintendo console, home console anyways, in the United States, France, Germany, and Japan so far. Awesome. We're up to 4 countries that way. What's actually really interesting when I was doing research on this is the UK sales are apparently not that impressive. In fact, they are doing so quote-unquote poorly that shelf space has been massively reduced for Switch, and now they're seeing it down. A lot of consumers anyways at their local stores are seeing it down on the bottom shelf next to old Skylanders bundles that they haven't been able to sell. A lot of people are noting that the Switch is still doing okay. Like if you look at the overall sales numbers in the UK, Nintendo Switch is selling okay, but it never really hit that hotness that it's hit everywhere else. And that's despite Zelda and Mario and everything else coming out. It could just be the UK is just not that into the Switch, which is the exact opposite way that it seems to be going in the rest of the world, including mainland Europe. Now, obviously, some of you might argue that with Brexit, maybe they're not going to be part of the UK, or not going to be part of Europe soon, but it is what it is. I can't really explain it. I don't live in the UK. I don't know why the device isn't like really taking off there, but it is what it is. It's not failing. It's just not doing so well that it can maintain prime real estate on the shelves. Let's move on to our next story then, and that deals with Atari. Who thought we'd be talking about Atari today? They are bringing new and old games to Switch. The Flashback Classics is incoming, and it includes multiple games, online leaderboards, and more. They have released many versions of this in the past, but if you like classic Atari games, hey, guess what? There's going to be a collection coming to Switch eventually. They're also bringing Roller Coaster Tycoon to Switch. Now, what I thought was interesting about this announcement is both these announcements came through an official PR release, which reads a lot more like an investor's report than a PR release. It's a really weird PR release. But what's interesting here is that this is their official announcement that Roller Coaster Tycoon is coming to Switch, but we've already known that Roller Coaster Tycoon was coming to Switch because they have a public investor funding goal out there that you can go fund right now and get kickbacks and blah, 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 blah. And what's weird about it is they set it up like it was like one of those crowdfunding things, like, hey, we need to get all this investment money or we can't make the game. And granted, their lowball figure was like $10,000 and they easily passed that. And what I thought was so strange about it is, we talked about this on the podcast a little bit, is that after that all came out and some people were kind of criticizing them for crowdfunding Roller Coaster Tycoon, then they came out and said, hey, look, we don't even need this money for Roller Coaster Tycoon. That's right. We are gathering money that we do not need to make this game. They just wanted to test crowdfunding and investor funding to potentially use it in games that do need it, by using it in a game that doesn't need it, which is going to give them completely inaccurate results for other IPs. So I honestly don't know what they're doing over at Atari, but somehow the company that has gone bankrupt before and maybe even has been bought out, I didn't do any research into that, the brand is still kicking around. They're still doing things. The Roller Coaster Tycoon mobile version apparently has like 13 million downloads or something. I don't know. Apparently it's a success. So I never played Roller Coaster Tycoon. I was more of a Zoo Tycoon guy, but you know what? I'll give Roller Coaster Tycoon maybe a shot if it's at the right price. They charge $60, and I'll probably run the other way. But lots of fishy stuff at least going on here. But you know what? Hey, Atari's still kicking, and we're still getting some games from them, so that is good. We also have a handful of other stories here that we're just going to kind of go through rapid fire here to end up Prime news for today. The Super Mario cereal is now being sold without amiibo functionality. It also doesn't seem to have very many references to Super Mario Odyssey anymore, and I feel like that's because this Super Mario cereal might be looking for a longer shelf life, which is actually really good for Nintendo on the whole. The cereal has obviously been selling very, very well, selling out at a lot of places. So maybe Nintendo plans to keep the cereal around for a few years. And if that's the case, there's going to be other Mario games, and they're going to want to link in the cereal with those as well. They can't just stick just to Odyssey, as they have other Mario games coming out if they're going to have some longevity on the cereal. So I understand it. It's a little weird to see the amiibo functionality taken away, but it only really worked in one game, and it really wasn't much of anything. More of a gimmick than something that was useful. So yeah, that's a thing. Beyond that, the Switch has won the grand prize at the AMD Awards. No, we're not talking about that AMD. We're talking about the Association of Media. They won the Award of Excellence for 2017 for the rapid success of Switch. Apparently, it's a really prestigious award, so prestigious that Nintendo, in fact, was there in person to accept the award and give a speech. So that is really, really great. I think this feels like one of those industry awards or awards that happens in media that is really prestigious, but is not something that the general consumers care about. This is more of a industry. Inside the industry, this is a big deal. Outside of the industry, we care more about other awards like GDC and all that stuff. So yeah, there is that. Also, one thing I wanted to bring up, this is the final story we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Fortnite on Switch. Now, I have not done a lot of talking about rumors about this because I didn't feel like they really came from credible places. But YouTuber Super Metal Dave 64 feels like Armature, which is a developer out there, is making the Switch port of Fortnite because they are reportedly working on Fortnite and they have experience making quality games and ports on PlayStation Vita. I think 4 of them, in fact. What's also interesting and what made me want to talk about this, because he actually reported on this about a week ago, is that there is a rumored mobile version, i.e. phones, possibly running Fortnite right now. We've seen some screenshots of it. I'll throw some up. I haven't seen any video evidence yet, but kind of crazy if that is the case. And with the rumored mobile version coming out and the other rumors about it coming to Switch, and now we know this dev that has experience making like portable, console-like games on the go is working on Fortnite. This, to me, makes it extremely possible that Fortnite is going to come to Switch. Now, what obviously upsets me about the mobile version is if it's real and they're about to announce it and make it completely official, if it's not official by the time you hear this, is that I don't mind it's coming to phones. I would just like to know that it's also coming to Switch before the phone version releases. Like, it doesn't need to release on Switch first, but that we know it's coming to Switch before that happens. So I don't go spend my money on a phone version of it when I could be just doing it on Switch. And you might say, oh, well, Fortnite Battle Royale is free. It doesn't matter. Yeah, there's microtransactions and all that stuff. There's a way that it monetizes itself. And yeah, I just wanted to give Super Mario Dave video a shout out. It's been performing very, very well and getting a lot of traction lately, probably due to all the rumors. And I feel like if it is coming to Switch, I feel like he likely did uncover the developer making it an Armature. So credits to Super Mario Dave 64. I'll have a link down to his video in the description for you to check it out. Anyways, I am Nathaniel Ruffledance from Nintendo Prime, and if you like this video, you know what to do. If you dislike the video, hit that dislike button. Today is Tuesday, and you know what, folks? I'm going to catch you guys in the next one.